The Supreme Court in Brazil has imposed temporary restrictions on the purchase of guns, citing the risk of political violence ahead of next month's election. Now, the decision suspends several decrees from the right-wing President Jair Bolsonaro that made it easier for Brazilians to get firearms. It also comes amid widespread concern that Mr Bolsonaro and his supporters will not accept the election result if he loses to his left-wing rival, former President Lula da Silva. I got to speak to Bruno Lanciarni, who is an associate researcher for the Instituto Sul de Paz, which focus on gun control and security. And Bruno explained the reasoning behind this Supreme Court ruling.
This decision was already expected since 2019 because Bolsonaro has used a different path to change Brazilian gun law. He was supposed to go via Congress, but instead he used decrees trying to bypass the Congress. So everybody expected that at some point the Supreme Court will rule out some of his decrees. But this decision coming this week shows clearly that's an increased concern about political use of firearms to try to destabilize Brazilian elections. So generally in Brazil, of course, as in other parts of the world, we discuss gun control in terms of try to control violence. But since Bolsonaro got elected, there's more and more talks about use of political violence against other supporters. And this is the main background behind this decision of the Supreme Court yesterday.
And just how widespread is gun ownership in Brazil? And is, gun violence something that's been spoken about in this way previously?
Well, in Brazil, gun plays a key role in the violence. 7 out of 10 homicides are committed with firearms. We didn't have a gun culture in Brazil in the past years, but since Bolsonaro got elected, it has increased a lot the interest of buying guns. And we estimate that at least 1.2 million guns were purchased during his government. But we have to say probably less than 3% of the households in Brazil will declare that they have a firearm in there.
What has the reaction been to this particular decision?
Sorry?
What has the reaction been to the decision?
Well, for the political parties, like the other institutions, the civil society and the press in general, I believe everybody praised the decision. But of course, for pro-gun supporters and Bolsonaro supporters, there is a reaction saying that the Supreme Court is invading the competency of the president. But if we recall, last week, we already had another decision from the electoral justice trying to create a gun-free zone around the electoral locations, because the concern is increasing and increasing that we could have potentially political violence. And of course, this has to be avoided because any kind of violent incident could refrain people to go out and cast their vote. So of course, safe democracy can grow with the concern of armed political violence.